19. Okay. Oh my goodness. So, okay. So I'm going to talk about resilience, which is the capacity to spring back, to rebound, successfully adapting in the face of adversity and develop social, so it can be social, academic, vocational competence, despite being exposed to extreme stress. And as we know, COVID-19 has exposed us to extreme stress physically, psychologically, mentally, spiritually. People have been struggling. So, or simply to the stress that is inherent, to day-to-day stresses. But this capacity to bounce back is very important in everybody's life. Proverbs 24, verse 16, the New King James Version says, "For a righteous man may fall 7 times and rise again, but the wicked shall fall by calamity." So it's telling us here that even righteous people, it doesn't say sinners may fall, it says righteous people. A righteous person can fall even 7 times, not just once, 7 times, but they're able to rise again. So we saw this in the story of David. David fell, we know about Bathsheba, but he was able to bounce back. And so I like the New Living Translation. The godly may trip 7 times, but they will get up again. But one disaster is enough to overthrow the wicked. So can you see the resilience with the righteous people, the godly people, 7 times and they're still rising. But it says the wicked, one disaster is enough to finish them off. So that's the difference. So what is personal resilience? It's the ability to perform effectively under pressure, bounce back from difficult circumstances, manage overall health and well being, understand how to achieve optimum performance. And also, it is the personal challenge of striving for balance and harmony. Because sometimes our lives are out of balance. Sometimes we're working too much, not resting enough, or we can be resting too much, not working enough. But having that balance is what gives us resilience. So, you know, they say, "Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape." So I said, "Oh, thank you for having me here today," because I also need to be reminded of these things. Sometimes I can tend to overwork. And in some places it says, "Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not, like break." Here it says bend, because if you bend with the wind, you're more flexible. Don't bend, yeah, don't break, but you can bend. So when you're bending, you're adapting to the situation, but you don't break. So the example we have is the palm tree. In a storm, palm trees, the trunks, they bend, their deep roots help them to stand in a hurricane force wind. Resilience during tough times is about, being like the palm tree, bending, but not breaking. So as the wind blows, the palm tree will bend, but it will not break. Some trees, they resist this bending, and then you find trees falling all over the place, because they have been broken. So resilience, everybody experiences stress. There's nobody living that does not experience stress. As long as we are alive, we have stress. They say the only peaceful place where you go where you don't find stress is the cemetery. It's peaceful there. But as long as you're alive, we know the devil will not leave us alone. The Bible says he goes about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. So he brings a lot of stress. Things go wrong. People let us down. We make mistakes. But that should not, make us give up. We can bounce back, whatever is happening. The best story of, you know, rebounding or bouncing back is the Horatio Spafford, when his wife was on that ship going, sent them away on holiday, was going to follow them, and then the ship, you know, broke. The children, 4 children. Imagine when you lose one child, it's bad enough, but they lost all the 4 girls, perished. And then she sent a telegram to the husband, saved alone. All the children had perished. But the strange thing about Horatio Spafford is that out of that tragedy, when he came to that place where his children drowned, he was able to write the well known favorite hymn, It Is Well with My Soul. How can it be well with your soul when you have just lost 4 children? That's what we talk about, rebounding. He said, it is well with my soul. When peace like a river, many of us would not have that peace like a river after losing 4 children. And so Anna Spafford, the wife, following the sinking of that ship, she gave birth to 3 more children. They named the first, surviving son Horatio. And then the 2 girls, there was Bertha and Grace. But then on February 11, Horatio, the son they had, the only son, died of scarlet fever at age 3. So she's already lost those 4 girls. And previously, they had lost a son as well, their son. So that was 5 children they lost. So they have another boy and 2 girls, and the boy dies from scarlet fever. So they said this final tragedy, after a decade of financial loss and personal grief, accompanied by lack of support from their church community. Say sometimes we depend on our church community for support, but if there's no support, it makes it really hard. So Horatio began a journey, a philosophical move away from material success. Before he was trying to build an empire, now he gave up. He was building a lifelong spiritual pilgrimage. When you read about their story, Anna Spafford, you know, out of her tragedy, the losses she experienced, she started up orphanages looking for children who had no parents. And so they were really, out of their experience, they bounced back, and their bouncing back was to look after other children who had nobody to look after them. And this mother, imagine, she lost 2 children. She left the door open, and her toddlers, one was 3, one was about 2, they went out. The phone rang. She answered the phone. She was distracted. As she answered the phone, the children walked out and fell in the swimming pool and drowned. So can you imagine how she felt? She was blaming herself. If only I hadn't answered that phone. If only I had shut the kitchen. If for she just wanted to die. But through prayer and other people comforting her, she said, I know how it feels when God touches your soul. Sometimes nobody can really touch the soul except Jesus. And she said, I know how it feels when God comforts you. I know how it feels to rest my head on his bosom. And so with COVID-19, people have lost their loved ones. Imagine not being able to say goodbye to your loved ones. There's heartaches everywhere. But we thank God that still in those storms, God can still reach us. He can still touch us because He's the only one that can give us comfort, even as we comfort each other. So, thinking is the best tool we have to cope. God has given us a brain, and we can use this brain to cope with tragedy. When most people who do counseling, we know about CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. And this is in line with Romans 12, verse 1 and 2, where Paul says, I beseech you, brethren, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You can only be transformed if your mind is renewed. You have to have a new kind of thinking. And so we need to, in CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, we encourage people to say, what you think affects your behavior, it affects how you feel. Every time you're feeling bad, go back to your thoughts. What was I thinking? Because it's the thoughts that produce the feelings and the behavior. That's why in Philippians 4, verse 8, Paul was able to say, you know, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is lovely. What he mentions about 8 positive things. Think on these things. There's nothing negative there. Paul is encouraging us, when you're thinking, think only about things that are true, things that are noble, things that are lovely, of true report, not gossiping or anything like that. Once you change your thinking, your feelings change and your behavior will change. So feeling positive in the middle of stress can help us by thinking positively, using support, church support, and there are so many support groups now, especially with COVID-19, bereavement groups. And so we learn principles of coping, and we need an action plan. You cannot act out of a vacuum. You have to have a plan. Even thinking positively, sometimes we forget. You might be engrossed in negative thinking, thinking about others negatively. And so we need to check every time, do a thinking check. What am I thinking about? Is it true? Is it noble? Is it pleasing to God? Every time we need a thinking check, because it's the thinking, it's the thoughts that would affect our behavior and also our feelings. The important thing is how we deal with things. Resilience is being able to bounce back, as we said, from difficulty times. So, strength related to resilience, being in charge of our emotions. Don't let your emotions, you know, they say wearing your emotions on a sleeve. Especially if they are negative, we need to control them. Create thinking time, analyze the cause of problems. What is causing my problem? Maintaining realistic optimism, having empathy for others, feelings for other people, believing on your own competence, and reaching out for help to other people, to the pastor, to this group, the women's group. I'm sure you are all supporting each other in this group. So I'm just going quickly because of the time, but we'll have some questions afterwards. And everything, the mind and the body are connected. Whatever affects the mind affects the body. Whatever affects the body affects the mind. There's a connection. So attitude is one of those things. Can attitude really make a difference in your health? Yes, it can. A person's psychological state is a prominent factor in health. So the mind, even when you read the Ministry of Healing, Sister White says 9/10. Imagine when you think 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 of all our problems, our sickness begins in the mind. That's what Sister White tells us. So the mind is a powerful thing. When 9/10 of our problems begin in the mind, there's only 1/10 that is genuine. Attitude, social networks, and a healthy diet are woven together in their importance for physical and mental health. So we have New Start, we have celebrations, we have all these other names, but New Start is quite common. Nutrition, water, exercise, all those things, they help to build a strong immune system and to give you a solid mental health. So these factors affect the immune system. When your mind is healthy, your immune system is healthy. When you're under stress, stress just wipes out the immune system. So then everything that's going, you're likely to have it because the immune system is down. It's like your defense is down. So when we think positively, when we eat well, when we exercise, we're building the immune system so that whatever happens, we might get COVID-19, but we might be able to fight it and overcome it. Instead of it wiping us out, the immune system will be fighting for us. Might not be all the time, but most of the time. Attitudes such as perseverance under stress, optimism, and having faith. Optimism is seeing a glass as half full rather than half empty, because you're appreciating that at least there's something there. So people who are optimistic tend to live longer, to have better health than people who are pessimistic. So faith, perseverance, optimism, they're all linked. When you practice these things, they reduce your stress. Yeah, they reduce the stress. If you don't have faith, perseverance, or optimism, then you are prone to heart disease. But when you practice these things, you reduce your chances of having heart disease, you reduce your chances of having high blood pressure, you reduce the chances of having infections, and generally ill health when you're practicing your faith. Studies have been done on people of health of faith, and they say people with faith, they tend to recover much faster than those without faith. And being, perseverance is also very optimism. It helps with the immune system. The Bible says, do not be anxious about anything. It doesn't leave even one thing we can be anxious about. It said anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. That's how you have resilience. Bouncing back is just presenting all our cares. Peter said, cast all your cares upon him because he cares for you. God doesn't want us to be carrying our cares on our backs, to be stressed, because stress is the thing, when you're anxious and worrying, that's what can break down the body's resistance. And the Bible, I understand there are 365 verses about worrying, not to worry, one for each day. We need to be using them. So, how resilient are you? So, when you're healthy, I've got a few minutes. You heal faster. When you're in hospital, you find that you recover much quicker, and they make nice patients. People who have faith, who are Christian, they are lovely patients to look after. They're not complaining all the time, grumbling all the time. There's a difference between people of faith and those who don't have faith in their recovery, and they have better coping during sickness. And so resilience has many factors, that contribute. We have many factors that contribute to disease, but resilience helps us to fight them. Even children who are happy, they're much healthier than, children who are not happy, children who are being abused, children who are neglected. They tend to suffer more, sort of illness than children who are happy. So happy people can also get sick. We're not saying they will not get sick, but they tend to recover much quicker. And we are not saying if you're happy, you will not die. You will die, but at least you won't die prematurely. The Bible says at least we should live, what, three score plus 10, at least 70 years or more. And nowadays, people are living up to 100. So we will die, but we'll die when the time comes. And we will be still strong and happy, praising God when we die. However, a trusting positive mindset is as important to good health and recovery from sickness as better known factors such as exercise and diet. Is all holistic. You need everything. You can't just pick one. Eating well, forgetting to pray, or praying, forgetting to exercise. We need to take it as a package. So, do you have a worry what? People who worry all the time, they're just, you know, making themselves more prone to sickness. Those are more hills. Most they can be a nuisance in the garden. But what we do, we make mountains out of those small, more hills. We build all these things in our life, make them into big mountains when they're just small things. So practicing, a positive mental attitude, all these helping. I'm about to close now. So activate your smile. A merry heart, the Bible says, a merry heart does good like medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bones. Even the Bible testifies that smiling, happiness is good for your health. Smiling not only lowers stress and improves outlook, it helps you to bounce back. It is an inexpensive way to improve your looks. Look at that. And it's infectious. When you start laughing, other people just join in. So even in old age, some we have grumpy old men or women, they're old and they're miserable. You know, people, oh my goodness. So people are scared of getting old these days, but you can be old gracefully, enjoying life, enjoying your children, grandchildren. Age has nothing to do with it. We can be healthy at any age. So I think my 20 minutes is up, eh? You see? Gratitude. Expressing gratitude is one of those things that's been known to help us to be healthy. Being grateful. Actively expressing gratitude is a powerful buffer against mental depression and physical illness. When you are grateful for what you have, that you have food to eat, anything, even small things, it helps you. That is a deterrent for being depressed. We get depressed because we think, I should have this, I should have that, I haven't got. But just being thankful for what you have, that will stop us being depressed. And also, you know, focus on positives, not negatives. Attitude is one thing humans have great control over. You can control your own attitude. Concentrating on solutions instead of problems dials down negative ruminating. So focus on how can I solve this problem? Find solutions rather than complaining all the time. So the fourth one, forgive. You know, in Florida Hospital is a Seventh day Adventist hospital and it's famous in Florida. People flock there. But Dr. Tibbetts, who works at the Florida Hospital, he has brought up this program. I don't know if you've tried it in your church, Forgive to Live, an 8-week program. And it shows the power of forgiveness. You cannot be happy, you cannot be healthy if you don't forgive your enemies. Sometimes, even in our families, your mom, your dad brought you up the way you didn't like, or you anything. There's no excuse for not forgiving anybody, because when Jesus died, we say use the prayer of the foot of the cross. When people have, you know, been bad to you, they have misjudged you, whatever anybody has done, we can't experience any more than Jesus experienced. And Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. So we have to be forgiving people. Whatever anybody has done, just like Jesus, just say, Lord, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. And it's not up to you or me, it's up to them. They will face their make. Our job is just to forgive. Can you imagine when you go to church and some people don't speak, they don't shake hands? What is that all about? Time is short. We can't afford to live like that. So an act may not be excusable, but it is forgivable. We are not excusing the acts. If somebody is abusing someone, we are not saying they're doing the right thing. We know it's wrong, but we can also forgive that person. We're not excusing them. So a healing spirit of forgiveness is a gift that God will impart all who ask. We need to ask for forgiveness for ourselves and for others. So I will end with that forgiveness. A big, you can exercise, you can eat well, but if you don't have a forgiving spirit, all that is nothing. We have to forgive others as God forgives us. Thank you.